Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Damon Bishop, and today I'm going to do my first market analysis on my YouTube channel. Today's market analysis will be catered to the local area that I live and service, which would be Charlotte County, Sarasota County, and Manatee counties. And I'll also leave the nationwide numbers on here as well, so everyone can get an idea of how our local area does compare to the rest of the country. Now, in today's video, I'll be using the RedFin Data Center for all of this data. A lot of the data that's from RedFin is going to be based on it'll basically be based on numbers as late as February 2023. So of course, it does take time for these reports and this data to be able to be calculated to understand where we are for March. But by at least understanding the trends and where data is at today, this could better help us understand where the market could be going. Now, I do want to make sure you understand, again, I am in the Sarasota market primarily, but I do a lot of business in the Charlotte County and Manatee County area. So I want to be able to put all of that into perspective so we can look at how Southwest Florida is doing regarding real estate. If you found the video helpful today, please go ahead and drop a like. And also, if you have any feedback on what you're experiencing in your area, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. Maybe there's some things that you're seeing that I'm not, and I'd love to hear that feedback. So let's go ahead and start first looking at the median sale price. Now, the median sale price nationwide, if we look at the chart here, $387K. So $387,000 is the median sale price. Now, understand that median sale price is different from median list price. The average list price is how much people are trying to sell the home for, versus the sale price is what the buyer and seller agree the home is worth. So looking at the median sale price nationwide, we see $387,000. Now over in Sarasota County, as of last month, the median sale price was $460,000. So that would include Northport, Venice, and Sarasota. And then looking over at Manatee County, considering Lakewood Ranch, a big part of Lakewood Ranch is in Manatee County. The average sale price there at $454K. Going down to Charlotte County, $354K. Now, what's important to understand about this information and this data is that the average sale price, the median sale price, is in fact on the decline. So if we look at the national average was $433,000. So obviously it has since then dropped 40,000 total. Now looking at the rest of these counties, you'll notice if we were to take out and just look at Sarasota County has been on this crazy upward trend, higher than the nationwide average, because the nationwide average around June 2021 was actually higher than the Sarasota average. The nationwide average June 2021 was $388,000. The Sarasota average in that same time was $376,000 around that time. So big difference in the trend there. And obviously the Sarasota County average prices jumped up significantly since then. So that's why in our local areas, we're seeing such high pricing. Demand's been crazy. There's been a lot of people moving to Florida. Obviously, Miami and Tampa have gone and garnered a lot of that attention, but we've seen quite a bit happen in the Sarasota market. And you have to consider that Venice, Florida, as well as Northport are all growing exponentially since Sarasota is a little bit crowded. So that all plays into those county numbers. Now, going a little bit further in, if we were to look at the home sales, now, the home sales nationwide are down quite significantly, right? The national home sales that we're looking at here, and let's see, okay, it's not really going to segment the individual counties, but looking at nationwide home sales, you're seeing in the news right now that home sales are down, real estate's on fire, the market's crashing, yada, yada, yada. Clearly, we are seeing a decline in sales. But we need to understand too, a decline in sales, a big part of that is because of interest rates being as high as they are. It's deterring buyers from wanting to enter the market. But there are some buyers who are looking for the best possible deal. And if there was ever a time to make a disrespectful offer, this is the market to do so, which we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through more of these numbers. Now, looking at the pending sales are also down. Now, technically year over year, December, January, and February tend to be very low. We're experiencing that same trend. So the real telltale sign is one, what will the Federal Reserve do these next few months? Will they continue to raise rates? Given the banking crisis that we are going through right now, as of recording this video, we are in March 20th of 2023, and there have been numerous banks that have had liquidity issues and banking crises going on all over the world. So the question that we still need to figure out is, how will interest rates play a part this spring and summer? Will we see a decline? Because most of the time you do see quite a rise going into March. And of course, in the summer tends to be the really hot periods for people to be buying. And remember, pending sales, this is a telltale sign of when homes go from being an active new listing to being pending, getting an offer in under the table. So we have to look at that. Now, looking at new listings are going up. If we look year over year, let's actually look at, let's start with March 2021. So, we'll start with March. 699,000 new listings, just around 700,000 listings in March 2021. 2022, under that, we had less new listings. And then this year, we are seeing more listings from, let's see, February last year to February this year. Oh, actually, less listings February this year. So we are seeing less listings appears, but the averages are the real numbers we need to look at. What are the averages? What's the average amount of listings? What's the months of supply that we have left? And that's something that we'll look at here in a moment. I'm now going over to inventory. Now this is total inventory level. So again, this will kind of play into what the theme has been over the last 2 years in this hot real estate market. Understanding that money was very, very cheap to borrow. Interest rates were very low. There are people going with 2.5% to even 3.5% interest rates, which are incredibly low for a mortgage. And we're talking fixed rates on a 30-year mortgage. That's pretty low. Now, looking at these numbers here, we are still at a little bit of a low, right? We've seen inventory come up from, late 2020 going through 2021. And even through 2022, we started to see inventory climb. So again, what we need to see is increased inventory. These last few years, there's been very little inventory. And when homes were on the market, they were gone within a few days. That leaves you with very little inventory. And you need to have at least 5 to 6 months of inventory to be considered a healthy market. And, you can tell that back in 2017, 2018, inventory levels were high. They were in the 1.5 millions. Looking at this, we've had inventory as low as almost 600,000 in some months back in 2022. We're finally, as of February last year, hitting that 800K mark again. So again, we have to kind of see how these trends keep up, but inventory has been very, very low. Now, looking at active listings, again, active listings, pretty low. We're seeing an uptick, but we need to see this number start to get back to a healthy range. A lot of people feel that 2018, 2019 levels would be more ideal for a healthy inventory, and that's kind of what these numbers here would indicate too. Now, months of supply. So this is where we start to get into the good stuff, okay? Now, months of supply left on the market. We want to have about I'd say about 6 would be probably more healthy, more sustainable. You could get to 5 and easily be at 4 the next month. So we need to see some levels around 6. Now, looking at the county by county metrics here, let's look nationwide first. Nationwide inventory, the peak, based on the numbers that we're looking at here from 2017 to 2023, peak national inventory levels would have been at a 4.3. Now, these numbers are a little bit tough to operate off of simply just because some markets have been hotter than others these last few years. So obviously, if we can look at this number, we want to see about a 4 average to hopefully be excited about this market and to feel like it's normalizing. If we look over even at Charlotte County around that same time, right, we're talking nationwide, we're talking January 2019 is when it was at its highest. Even in Sarasota County and Charlotte counties, we were looking at about 7.7 months of supply left on the market. So what does months of supply on the market mean? This means that if all home sales were to stop, if no one else decided to sell their home, how many months of supply are left on the market before we'd run out of homes to sell? right? So sitting at about 7 months of supply, that's over half a year left of inventory on the market. And that's what we experienced back then. If you look at the last few years with this crazy demand, the months of supply in the market was around 1.3. Let's see. So yeah, if we look at August 2021 in Charlotte County, months of supply in August and September was about 1.2, 1.3. If we look over at Sarasota County was about 1 month of supply left on the market. So let's fast forward to today. Right now, where we sit, Charlotte County of October 2022 had a 5.3 months of supply left on the market. As of most recent in February, they've cooled to around 4.5 months. So again, that 5 number is sweet, but 6 is probably more ideal. We need to be back to a healthy market where it's more level for buy and sell demand, right? Because it's been crazy buying demand and not enough inventory on the market to supplement that. Of course, these new construction builds are going to help that situation, but let's look at Sarasota County. Sarasota County as of February was 3.2. If we let's go to January. January was at about 4.2. So the interest rates going down in the month of January drew a lot of people into the market, and we saw a 1 month worth decrease of supply. So that could be concerning when you're looking at having a healthy market. Buyers are trying to buy homes. They want to buy them at competitive prices, but they're also trying to buy them at competitive rates. And obviously, if you're at about 3 months of supply, 4 months of supply, it's not very good for buyers. Very difficult. Awesome. Yeah. And even looking at Manatee County saw an increase in January, decrease in February. So these March numbers, when they come out next month, will be very interesting to look at. Now let's go over to days on the market. Days on the market is going to tell us how long a home is staying on the market before an offer comes in and it goes pending and goes into being sold. So let's look at what we've experienced back then. And this is going to put into context how fear really drives a lot of the talk that we hear about today in the housing market. So we need to put into perspective what a regular market is like. And we need to put into perspective how far we are from really attaining that, because, we've become, I think our memory is so short. We're so used to, a quick market. We're used to homes getting listed and being sold the next week. And we lose perspective on what a real normal market is like. So let's look at the nationwide number here. Let's look at January 2020. Nationwide, January 2020, before the pandemic was really even scaring anybody. There wasn't a whole lot of talk about it. We had 57 as the median days on the market. This is where you could argue that the economy was doing really well and people were, at peak, I'd say peak optimism, right? People were happy, were making good money back then. You look here, 57 days on market on average. We got as low nationwide, as low as 15 days on the market for the average. You go from almost 2 months to a quarter of that. That's a drastic change. And again, this is what we've kind of become accustomed to these last few years. Now let's look at the counties specifically. Well, nationwide, February 2023, 52 median days on market. So we're finally getting back to normal levels. We hadn't seen that high of a peak of days on market since about February 2020, just before the pandemic. Now let's look at these county specific numbers. Charlotte County, you list a home, you try to sell your home in Charlotte County. Back in 2020 and even 2019, you're looking at about 2 months of the house being on the market before it would actually sell. The peak we experienced was 2023 of last year, or of this year. And we saw 41 days. So that's still 20 days shy of what we're used to being normal, right? And as of February, it was 28 days. So we went back down, right? Which is not a good situation. Now, looking at Sarasota County's numbers are even worse. If you look at the middle of 2020, there were even homes sitting on the market for as long as 67 days, right? Sarasota County finally saw a peak of 32 days for the days on the market. This is the average, right? And now, even as of last month, we're down to 27. So we're on a downward trend in Sarasota County. And then price per square foot. So again, this is really helpful to look at so you can see based on the amount of space what the average price is based on that space. We saw the peak in May 2022 last year, 238 price per square foot. And of course, this number is starting to trend downwards, but these levels will maintain. So what these numbers will tell us is, how is housing appreciation going? Are houses appreciating in value? Are they keeping the value that they're maintaining? Now, this number I've made a video on before, but we need to understand the difference between sale price and list price. They are not the same, right? So what is sale price? And I mentioned this earlier, but the sale price is how much a home is sold for. When the buyer and the seller shake hands and agree to sell the home at a specific price point, that's how much that home goes for. If we look at the list price, the list price is kind of like that greedy number, right? If you're looking to sell your home, you want to sell your home for top dollar, right? You don't really care about how people feel about you selling your home because you want to make the most money you can. And obviously peak greed is when people were trying to sell their home for a crazy price. So if we look at these numbers here, a normal market, 2019, you could nationwide, you could sell your home, you could list your home, and whatever price you decide to list it at, you'd almost be guaranteed to get about 98, 99% of that. So let's say you list your home at $1 million, you're almost guaranteed to be able to list that and actually sell it for $990,000 or $980,000, right? That's what that number tells us. Now, let's say you listed your home nationwide in April of 2022. Based on these numbers, you were more likely, if you list your home for $1 million, you're more likely to get 1.3 million, or I'm sorry, 1.03 million, right? So an extra 30K on top of that. People were willing to pay more money than what the home was worth simply because there wasn't enough homes to be able to pick from. So very important to understand that dynamic when we talk about the housing market. If we look at Charlotte County specifically, Charlotte County, the peak was 101.3, which, being from Charlotte County myself, I can understand how exciting that was for people. But then, when we hit November of last year, sellers became a lot more desperate. They were willing to take less money than what they thought their homes were worth. And then Sarasota County, same thing. Sarasota County actually saw 102.3 in April of last year. And those numbers since then have dropped down to about 96.9%. So if you're a buyer in this real estate market and you're confident that you'll be able to refinance and get a lower interest rate, and all you really care about is paying the lower price on the home, there's an argument to be made that you could actually save more money on a lower interest rate. But you had a lot of people that said, oh, I'm not going to buy on these low interest rates. I'm just going to wait for these prices to come down because the market's crazy. Well, here we are today. Prices are down, but interest rates are up. It's a hard battle. You can't really time the market, right? It's about time in the market, not timing the market. But point made, you're able to get a home at a really good deal right now. This is what I was saying about if you're going to make a disrespectful offer, this is the market to do so, right? If a home's listed for $500,000 and you want to offer $400,000, 80%, it may not get accepted, but if there was ever a time to do it, this is the time. So this is why I'm encouraging buyers to not be afraid to make competitive and in some ways disrespectful offers, because even though at first glance someone might say, they might scoff and say, I don't want to sell it for that low. Are you kidding me? But knowing that they may not be able to get that amount in the future is something that can be enticing to a seller. So if you're a buyer, this is still a very competitive and good time to buy. And it's not nearly as competitive as it was just a few years ago. Okay, and then this percentage will just go on to show more about what we're talking about. The percentage of homes that were sold above the listing price. These numbers nationwide as of May 2022 were as high as 59.1%. These numbers have since then dropped. We're now sitting in February 2023, and these numbers are down to 23.6 nationwide. Even in Charlotte County, 15.1%, Sarasota County, 13.1%. So not a lot of homes are selling above list price. Now let's talk about not buyers, but sellers. some advice I've given to a lot of my sellers. I work with mostly sellers. Advice I've given to a lot of my sellers is that this is a good time to list competitively. I actually have a home that we listed in Northport last year, and we sat down and ran the numbers. We figured that we could get an easy $280,000 for the home. What we opted to do, instead of listing it for the price we wanted it to sell for, we listed it at a competitive price that would welcome more buyers to see it. And as a result, we ended up getting 24 offers in 2 days, 48 hours. My sellers were happy because they only had to give 2 days to actually letting the home be shown to people. We sat down and reviewed all of those offers, and the offer they closed on was actually at $290,000. So we could have listed it at 280, maybe gotten 2 offers, 3 offers, and sold it and closed it at 280 or even less. We instead listed it competitively at 250 and ended up getting an offer that was $10,000 more than what we thought we'd get in the first place. So if you're looking to sell a home in this market, it could behoove you to list your home competitively to draw more attention and more hype, and then potentially get a larger offer than what you would have gotten in the first place. So a dynamic to consider, and this is advice I'm giving everybody that looks to sell their home with me, because I want my buyers, I want my sellers to have the best possible offers to choose from. And then a few more things to look at here. We're going to look at price drops and then homes that are off the market within 2 weeks. Now, nationwide price drops, we've seen, well, let's first look at the peak. We saw the most price drops, and I guarantee you, if you were to go back and look at the news articles, you'll see the most articles about fear in the market, about the market crashing, the most speculation about housing market prices correcting. You'll see all of that back in October of 2022. Nationwide, we saw 22% of price drops happening. If you go onto the MLS right now in my local area, I'll try to put a screenshot up for you guys to see it. There are just as many price decreases as there are new listings. This means that sellers are starting to become more humble, understanding, wow, my agent might have been right. I can't list my home for max dollars right now and expect to get the same offers. The market is cooling, right? In some ways. But that amount of price drops is crazy. So that was 22% back in October. We've seen less price drops now because as interest rates fluctuate and more buyers try to get in, there's less of a need to decrease prices. And I think also there are a lot more agents understanding that they need to be intelligent about their approach. But let's look at, this is a nationwide number. Let's look at the county numbers because this might actually kind of defeat what I just said. So if we look at July last year in Charlotte County, price drops were as high as 36%. They got as low as 17.6%, and then as high as back in February, 33 or 34.3%. Sarasota County, 40.4% for price drops. This means that of all the homes being listed, if there's 100 homes listed in this area, 40 of those homes had to decrease the price because they may have overpriced it or they're not getting enough interest to people that want to buy it. So again, listing competitively makes all the difference because you never have to drop your price. Now, the last thing I want to look at with you guys, and again, if you've enjoyed this content so far, this analysis, this breakdown of the numbers, please go ahead and drop a like on the video. It really helps more people see videos like this. And also, if you have any feedback on any of the data that I'm reading, if you're seeing data that's different in your area, if you're curious as to how this data really makes sense, feel free to leave a comment down below because I'll be responding to all those comments. Now, looking at this nationwide, the off market within 2 weeks. So nationwide, you saw, and again, this says percentage of active listings with price drops. So, but we're talking about listings that may have been canceled. Nationwide, these numbers were pretty high. I'd imagine that you had a lot of people that were not getting the bites they wanted, super overpriced on their listings, and they decided to just cancel it out, which I've seen a lot of that in my local area. but we're seeing more and more cancellations and more houses off the market within the 2-week time. And then in Charlotte County, so nationwide, this number is 45% last month. Charlotte County is 53%. And then Sarasota County was 49.2%. So off market in 2 weeks, that could say a lot, but it says here homes pending within 2 weeks. So those numbers are down. And again, back to the point of what we've been talking about this whole time, buying demand is down, interest rates are down. So you would expect that the amount of homes going into pending would be less because there's less buyers in the buyer pool. All right, so guys, this has been the real estate market breakdown for Southwest Florida, covering Sarasota and Charlotte counties and Manatee County as well, and also comparing these numbers to the nationwide averages. So again, if you guys found this video helpful, please drop a like, and also just drop a comment down below and let me know, what are your thoughts on these numbers? What are things that you're seeing in your area? Is it different? Is it more or less the same? I'd love to hear that feedback. And I'm hoping to do more analysis and videos like this. And the more of these that I do, the better I will get at them, since this is my first one that I'll be putting out. So I really appreciate you guys. And of course, you can also follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up with me on a daily basis, see what I'm doing, see my activity. But for the most part, I will also link another video of a recent house tour that I did, so you guys can see what a house on the island of Venice actually is going for and what it looks like inside. If you guys find this information helpful, again, just drop a like. I appreciate your feedback. Damon out. Peace.